dear long-lost Lilith.
Now, whatever Elizabeth was chanting there causes Lilith to be summoned from hell, I guess. And Brad, like the fuckstick he is just standing there like... Blue Power Ranger looking motherfucker.
I played video games in a drunken haze. I was 17 years young.
The movie opens on a snowy road where our first two main characters, Bob and Margaret, arrive early for a party.
I mean, look at this. This is going to be a blast.
Now, through small talk, we learn that the house that this party's being hosted at belongs to their old friend Elizabeth, whom they haven't seen in a while.
I don't remember her too well back then, except for the fact that she was really spooky. I give you Exhibit A, Witchouse.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
That's my longest running joke. They knock and no one answers, but since the door is unlocked, they head inside.
Bob?
Shitty jump scares.
Honey, you gotta check this basement out. It's wild.
After meandering around doing fuck all, they head down to the basement, which I gotta admit looks pretty badass.
I really hope this is just more of Elizabeth's party favors.
We could do it here instead.
A sudden aura of horniness overtakes the pair when in reality we really know any flimsy ass excuse to have some sex in these movies flies. But before they get too far into it, they are approached by a stranger in the dark.
God! Bob!
Alright, 5 minutes in and we already got 2 deaths. Right after that, the credits roll, and then we find ourselves in the midst of the party where a group of friends are remembering old times. There's Jack, the white knight, Brad the nerd, Maria the dumb blonde, and Scott the jock. There's 2 other characters we'll get to later. This dialogue is just boring.
Oh, remember when Elizabeth had that fake eyeball at the formal and pretended her eye had fallen out?
Isn't that the same year she hid the dead rat in Billy Hirschberger's locker and they had a police investigation over it?
The characters go on and on about people and events that we have no knowledge of, so how am I supposed to be interested or invested in these memories that they have and I don't?
You know what your problem is? Lack of sex.
What?
Eventually, one of the girls starts talking about some voodoo, black magic, devil fuckery, which is what we all came here for anyway, right?
Real mystical type stuff. Many cultures believe that the left hand is a symbol of evil, and that left-handed people are servants of the devil.
Way more uninteresting dialogue commences as the boom mic drops into frame a few times. Boom mic, boom mic, boom mic, boom mic. Honestly, nothing of importance happens here. The doorbell rings, and then Elizabeth overacts on her way to answer it. Scott and Marie head upstairs alone, where Marie confesses she's jealous of Elizabeth and senses that perhaps she's got the hots for Scott.
That sometimes I get a vibe from her, like she's watching you.
She also lets us in on a little bit of history of the house, and then sex.
It's haunted.
Come on, it's not Halloween.
That is a big-ass painting. More uninteresting shit happens before we finally meet Jennifer, the person who rang the doorbell minutes earlier.
Jennifer, this is everybody. Feel free to make yourself at home. We were just getting started, actually, when you showed up.
Half the shit you just saw didn't matter. From the time that doorbell rang until now, if I had just... I'll do it now. I'll edit out all that crap and just show you the transition.
What's wrong with you?
Late arrival.
Everybody, I would like to introduce my friend Jennifer to our little gathering.
You didn't miss anything. Jack recognizes Jennifer from a class they had together, and he awkwardly flirts with her before Elizabeth notices Scott and Maria are missing.
I remember when you'd come in and you'd just gotten those glasses and... I'm gonna shut up now before I make any bigger an idiot out of myself than I already have.
She decides to start her seance anyway.
Well, it's not exactly a seance.
Fuck's sake, her ritual. And then they all gather around the pentagram on the floor, minus Scott and Maria, who are still exploring. Elizabeth delivers a bit of interesting history on her ancestor, Lilith, to us, while the movie wastes more time cutting to Scott and Maria upstairs who are banging.
And engaged in all manner of what was considered forbidden practices.
You could start by running to the room of the 3 gargoyles.
It was one of the most powerful tomes on the planet.
And a door might lead you down a staircase into the wall climb.
But Lilith was too strong.
And as I always say, most sex scenes in most movies are completely irrelevant to the plot. Eventually, I started to lose focus in her story as it just went on and on and on. I hope that's not the case with my reviews. Back and forth, we show the goobers upstairs banging while she continues her long-winded story, and eventually we fade into flames and see some pretty awesome scenes, honestly. head moving shit right there, that's creepy. What the hell is going on? Where are we?
We, the goodly servants of the Lord, the elders of the township of Dunwich, sentence thee.
Somebody wake me up!
Don't let them burn me.
Oh, apparently all that was just a hallucination that Brad was experiencing, and it was so traumatic, he has to leave.
Maybe I should go.
Now after that, everyone's just kind of lounging around, and Elizabeth heads upstairs to call Brad a cab.
The phone is upstairs, so I'll just go and call you a cab.
The others are just sitting around bullshitting when Jennifer decides that she wants to explore the house, so she asks Jack to accompany her. Maria decides to take a shower after her romp with Scott, who is now asleep, I guess for no reason other to give us some pantied ass shots, and Brad is left alone, getting all creeped out when something comes out of the painting above him, but he doesn't even see it.
Anyone.
Here the movie tries to build a little more tension and lay out some plot points through Jennifer and Jack's dialogue about the house and about Lilith, but it just goes on and on and on, and it's fucking boring.
Well, I suspect Elizabeth's ancestors came to the New World for the same reason the Pilgrims did.
Jack even awkwardly gives us a history lesson on the wiring of this old mansion. Like, who gives a shit?
You can find that kind of house wiring in old English castles and stuff.
That's pretty fascinating stuff, Jack. Really.
Brad, still weirded out, heads down to the basement looking for any sign of humanity, where he finds Elizabeth chanting and performing a ritual.
I invoke thee, my angels and demons, my gods and devils, my divine goddess and dark lord.
It's corny as hell until we get more of the creepy ass old scenes, which the movie should have had more of. Shame on you, movie. Now in the library, Jack and Jennifer stumble across a copy of the same book Elizabeth had in the den, which they browse through.
Holy cow. There's gonna be dozens of them in here.
Give me the power. Oh, my dear, long-lost Lilith.
Now, whatever Elizabeth was chanting there causes Lilith to be summoned from hell, I guess. And Brad, like the fuckstick he is just standing there like... Blue Power Ranger looking motherfucker.
I've waited oh so very long for your kiss.
He's rightfully killed by Lilith. Still asleep upstairs, that weird floaty orb we saw coming out of the painting possesses Scott, and Jennifer and Jack discover through the book that everyone in the house is connected to the witch hunters, those that hunted down Lilith and other witches in the past. They all share last names, and apparently they're all direct descendants of them, and they've all been brought together into this house. I bet it's no coincidence. Scott awakens as Jack and Jennifer clumsily and hastily speed us through more plot.
She was very specific about who we were. Made sure to mention our last names and everything. Yeah, well, Goodman Bainbridge wasn't mentioned in that edict thingy we were reading earlier, so you're not part of this.
This music reminds me of Lucy the Axe that Woody carries in Don't Starve. Pretty badass, honestly.
You gotta be kidding me. That's like the Scream Up from Haunted House Sounds Volume 1. Then
we waste even more screen time bouncing back and forth between Stoner Boy and Courtney Love, as well as Jennifer and Jack.
You wanna go home?
Well, I'd rather stay with you.
Why are we spending so long on this stupid-ass romance? Who cares? Now the power is suddenly knocked out and everyone freaks out.
Looked like a power surge with the bulbs popping like that.
None of this matters.
Instead of blowing a fuse, the breaker probably kicked off.
So for the next few minutes, no one can find anyone. People are panicking. The acting is pretty bad.
Yeah, well, I can tell you at this point, if they pull something like that on us, I'm gonna beat them to death with this.
Alright, yeah, fuck yeah, movie starting to kick some ass. This is what I'm talking about. Now, too little, too late? Too early to tell. Did you really see what just happened? I was editing this, and I'd somehow just missed this. I thought this bitch was about to pop a guitar solo the way she caught that guitar. It's fucking hilarious. Oh man, I thought she was about to bust out Eruption or something.
Tony, are you alright?
That was just a tease, come on. Meanwhile, Jennifer and Jack stumble across Elizabeth.
I have someone I want you to meet.
Nobody is going to leave my little party.
Is that a Halloween mask?
Yeah, run upstairs. Stoner boy, his name's Tony. He runs back to Scott and Maria's room in an attempt to again convince them to move their asses so they can leave.
It's party time, Tony.
Way cool!
Moments later, evil Scott and evil Maria are on a rampage, forcing the remaining three to run where they are trapped at the door by Lilith.
What's wrong, kids? Is it the music?
Down to the basement they go where they find the bodies of Bob and Margaret, and they also find another copy of the book from earlier.
Well, the one that's like super evil or something?
Okay, so now Janet is possessed too, apparently, out of nowhere, and you gotta give it to him. The makeup, the teeth, it looks pretty badass on everyone, honestly.
Sister, I think you got some serious fucking problems.
The one-liners, not so much. She's taken out in a lame manner, and Jack and Jennifer escape the basement.
There's only one way out of this mess.
Boom mic. Boom mic. Boom mic. Boom mic. Boom mic. So all that nerd talk from earlier finally comes in handy as Jack has an idea.
I'm an applied sciences major, right? So now it's time to apply some science to the situation.
An eternity later, he finally jams the damn, whatever that thing is, a poker, I guess, into her belly, which Jennifer is attached to the breaker and fries her ass.
No!
And then they all disappear. They disappear. We get a pretty corny ending, honestly. Our only survivors, Jack and Jennifer, escape the house and resolve barely anything, but it still seems like this is a good time to make out, I guess. So they do that, and we fade up and out on the house. That was it. That was Witchouse. Should have called it Not Very Much Witchouse. Very Little Witchouse. Why isn't there more witch in this house? I mean, they had kick-ass makeup. The voice was cool when they, you know... The movie dumbed me down because I expected a little more out of it. I expected more out of this cover. More of this, more of those teeth, more of this, more evil. It was just a bunch of dumb stone. You know how in like most slasher movies it has dumb stoner kids doing dumb stoner things? It's like this movie had that, but I would rather watch the dumbasses, and this is hard to say, in Freddy vs. Jason. They were at least entertaining to make fun of. This was bad dialogue most of the time and bad acting. But at the same time, you know, it's watchable. I don't know. It is certainly much better than Cannibal Roller Babes, which, you know, that was a no-budget horror movie anyway. That's why I had to move into something for this episode. I was like, let's step it up a notch quality-wise. So, would I recommend Witchouse? Sure. Hit it on the table. I would recommend you check this movie out if you've never seen it. It's interesting. It's really cool when the witch talks. Lilith is awesome. They didn't have enough of her. They didn't have enough Lilith. They didn't have enough murders in this movie. That's all. What a shame.
Like and subscribe for future content.